A very good morning to all of you. We are starting with the first unit, that is Unit 1, Diversity of Living Organism. Yes, the state of being diverse. There are diverse type of organisms present around us. You find different types of flowers, different types of plants, different types of animals, different types of fungal body and whatnot. There is diversity everywhere. So this diverse type of organisms, they need to be classified properly. Until and unless they are being properly classified, we cannot study them in a sequential basis. So today we are going to study about the basic of 5 kingdom classification, and then we will be entering particularly with plant kingdom. 5 kingdom classification. What we know that the previous 2 kingdom classification, that is kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia, that is being abolished. We are not following that because there are so many organisms who are not falling particularly into plant kingdom or particularly into animal kingdom. Either they are having similar characteristics or they are dissimilar to both the type of groups. So what we find that according to the latest classification system, there are altogether 5 kingdoms. What are those? Kingdom Monera, Kingdom Protista, Kingdom Fungi, Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia. We are going to study about the basis of classification as an introductory part, and then we will be entering into the plant kingdom. Basis of classification. Why we are classifying them in this proper sequence? See, there are certain things which we need to understand. Certain bases of classification are being taken into account. For example, whether the organism is prokaryotic or the organism is eukaryotic. Whether the organism is unicellular or the organism is multicellular. What is the mode of nourishment in that particular organism? So these are some of the criteria on that basis we have classified all the 5 kingdoms. Let us discuss one after another. Like the first one, Kingdom Monera. The very important character is that they are unicellular and prokaryotic. Yes, they do not have a proper nucleus, and we find that the nuclear material is present just along with the cytoplasmic content, and we call them as nucleoids. Whereas in case of Kingdom Protista, we find they are also unicellular, but they are eukaryotic. They are having membrane-bound nucleus. Organelles with specific structure and function are present in eukaryotic cell. In case of the third category, that is Kingdom Fungi, they are multicellular, they are eukaryotic, but they are saprophytic. That means they are depending on dead and decaying organic matter as their food. In case of the fourth category, that is Kingdom Plantae, we find they are also multicellular, they are also eukaryotic, but they are autotrophic. And the highest category, that is Kingdom Animalia, they are multicellular, they are eukaryotic and they are heterotrophic in nature. Heterotrophic, they cannot prepare their own food and they are depending on other organisms for food. So these are the basis of criteria. Again I repeat, whether the cell is unicellular or multicellular, whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic, and what is the mode of nutrition in the organism. These are the 3 basic criteria on which we have differentiated all the organisms into different kingdoms. And there are different taxonomic hierarchy. I am not entering into that part. Today our topic of discussion is particularly with the plant kingdom. So let us have a study on that. As you can see in this chart, we are going to study about the state of being diverse. How diverse we are, that we are going to study in the form of a flowchart. So at the very beginning, see all the organisms, they are broadly classified into 2 major categories. One is prokaryotic and the other, that is eukaryotic. Prokaryotic, that means they are not having a membrane bound nucleus and generally they are unicellular. They are the organisms forming Kingdom Monera. Whereas in case of eukaryotic organism, what we find, they are either unicellular or they are multicellular. Under unicellular, we are getting Kingdom Protista. All the organisms belonging to Kingdom Protista, they are unicellular, they are eukaryotic in nature. Under multicellular, next we find with cell wall or without cell wall. This is another criteria on which we can separate out. If no photosynthesis, then we are obviously talking about kingdom fungi. If they are performing photosynthesis, that means they are autotrophic in nature, they can prepare their own food and they are forming the kingdom Plantae. Whereas in case of without cell wall Animalia, this group is present because in case of animal kingdom, we find that cell wall are absent. Now see, in case of plant kingdom, we are getting a sort of categorization like you can see here, the one which are not differentiated. The plant body is not differentiated into root, stem or leaf-like structure. Those are termed as Thallophyta. Who are differentiated, then they are categorized into the other group. Under that, we are having two again subdivisions. If they are not having vascular tissue, that means xylem and phloem are absent. That means they are forming Bryophyta. With vascular tissue, then again there is another criteria. No seeds are produced, seeds are produced. No seeds, then it is coming to Pteridophyta. If seeds are produced, then obviously gymnosperm or angiosperm. But there again there is another embedded criteria. If the seeds are naked, then we consider them under gymnosperm. If the seeds are present inside fruit, then we consider them as angiosperms. So, in case of plant kingdom, we have got these 5 categories or groups which we are going to study in our major part, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Now in this chart, we have got the summary idea, or you can say the summary map of the overall thing which we are going to study. Here we have seen how all the organisms are being categorized into different types based on certain very important diagnostic characteristics. Even in case of kingdom Plantae, we have got the basic idea that how the classification is being done. We are going to study about Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, gymnosperms and angiosperms in bit details. So let us continue with that part. Now, after the study of each of the categories that we have got the basic idea, we are going to study about a model. Yes, in a model, we are going to study some specimens so that we get an idea that what are the different types of organisms we are talking about. So, in this model, as you can see here, at the very beginning, this is Thallophyta. Just now in the study map, we have studied Thallophyte. These are very small microscopic organisms. Those are algae present in aquatic medium. The next category, that is in case of bryophytes or mosses. In case of bryophytes or mosses, we find that generally they are growing in damp area, damp soil. The next category, pteridophyte or fern, in shady places they used to grow. The next one, higher category, that is in case of gymnosperm. These are generally the Xmas trees which you get in coniferous trees which we are getting in high altitude. And the last one, angiospermic plants which are bearing bright beautiful flowers and then fruits. Inside the fruit seeds are present. So these are the 5 major groups which we are going to discuss today. Let us have some live samples to understand each of them. The first one is algae. As you can see here, they are having a thallus body. See, you can understand a mass of clusters of cells they have piled up together and they are forming a thallus-thalloid body structure. They are forming Thallophyta. The next category is Bryophyta. In case of bryophytes, we find that generally they are present in damp, shady places and they are forming a sort of velvety type appearance. As you can see here, I have collected this from the surface of old wall. So this velvety like green appearance which we get, those are the mosses. Now the next category are the pteridophytes or the ferns. This is the live sample of a pteridophytic plant. This is a very common plant. You must have seen this plant here and there, and wherever you are getting any shady damp places, you get the ferns there. So this is the example of fern plant, and they are also not very big trees. They are generally small and shrubby. Some examples of very big trees or ferns are there, but here generally we get in the form of small plants. in certain places. Just after this, we are going to study about gymnosperm. I am not able to collect the whole plant of gymnosperm, but the cone is there, and this is a female cone, as you can see. In case of gymnosperm, these cones, they have opened to release the seeds inside. We will be studying about gymnosperm, and then we are going to study about them even. And after gymnosperm, the highest category, that is angiospermic plant. Angiospermic plants are the flowering plants. As you can see, these type of plants are very commonly found here and there, and those are the highest category, which bear flower, fruit and seed formation follows by this. So we have seen the different specimens of the different categories, and we are having this general idea that how from thallophyte, slowly bryophyte, pteridophyte, gymnosperm and then angiosperm, they are categorized into. Generally, in case of thallophyte, that is in algae, we find that they are having a thallus body. The body is not differentiated into root, stem and leaf-like structure, and few clusters of cells together, they are forming the thallus. In case of the next higher category, they are land plants. In case of thallophytes, they are totally aquatic bodies, whereas aquatic plants, whereas in case of bryophyte, they are present on over the land on soil surface, but they require a damp area. A thin film of water is always required there, otherwise their sexual reproduction cannot be completed. To complete their life cycle, it's very important that they have a layer of water present there. On old walls or over rocks, you find that some velvety type of appearance we get there. Such type of plants, there we find that some sort of tissue differentiation we find, but in case of this plant, we do not get the conducting tissue, xylem and phloem. So if we see according to the phylogenetic relationship, very simple form of organism, they are the thallophyta. Little bit of complexity is coming up there from forming the next category, that is bryophyta. In case of pteridophytes or in case of ferns particularly, we find that they are having well developed xylem and phloem tissues. That means vascular bundles are present in them. In case of gymnosperms, we find that seeds are present, but the seeds are not enclosed inside the fruit. They are naked seeds. And in case of angiosperms, we find flowering plants are there. That means the plants are bearing bright, beautiful flowers. Sometimes the flower may be dull even. And in case of flowering plants, we find just after the formation of flower, there is formation of fruit followed by formation of seeds. In angiospermic plant, they are again categorized into two types, whether they are monocotyledonous type or they are dicotyledonous type. Plants which are having two cotyledons, those are categorized as monocot plant, and the plants which are categorized, which are having only one cotyledon, they are categorized as dicot plant. We are having two samples to understand this monocot and dicot plant. Let us see them. Now, see this specimen. This is a dicot plant. I'm saying this is a dicot plant. I'll say you why. Whereas this plant is a monocot plant. You can see here in both the plants, I have collected the flowers. These are the flowers of monocot plant. Whereas in case of dicot plant, the bright petals you can see there properly. How can we differentiate? See, in case of monocot plant, generally they are wind pollinated. So you can understand there the flowers which are present, the whole inflorescence, they are having very dull colored flowers which are not at all attractive. Not only that, the leaves which you can see here, those leaves are very fine with parallel venation. Whereas in case of dicotyledonous plant, we find that they are having thick broad leaves which are having reticulate venation. If you observe minutely, you can understand the veins, they are forming a network like structure, and that is reticulate venation. Whereas in case of grass plants, here no reticulate venation is there. Rather, what we find that the veins are present parallel to one another. So this is how the categorization is being made. Today we have studied about the basic of plant kingdom. We are going to study about each of these groups in detail, and today, just to have the idea that what we are going to study about in this chapter, I have given the examples of some live sample. Slowly we are going to study about all of them in our next classes. So far, if you are getting any queries, please do ask. Till then, bye bye.